Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
It's not over disagreements of policy. It's more about politics.
Will politics keep lawmakers from a budget that covers the bases?
But the truth of the matter is, children should never be in prison.
The ethical and legal woes of the zero-tolerance border policy.
Treating diabetes really revolves around insulin.
How to taper the soaring costs of essential care. Hi, everyone. I'm Andre Morrow. Welcome to this week's edition of SWI. Much more on those stories in a moment, but right now, let's check on some of the week's other top headlines. Louisiana no longer holds the title of prison capital for having the most people jailed per capita in the country. Governor John Bel Edwards touted the update on his weekly radio show. The moniker now belongs to Oklahoma at 719 per 100,000 residents. Louisiana's rate fell to 712 after criminal justice reform measures were passed last year. We were long called the prison capital of the world, but the tiny island nation of Seychelles in the Indian Ocean now holds that dubious distinction. The state's Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority has given its chairman the go-ahead to take Plaquemines Parish to court if it doesn't comply with needed testing for restoration projects by June 29th. The state's landmark diversion projects would reroute sediment from the Mississippi River into soil-deprived marshes for land growth. But Plaquemines officials have called the projects experimental, and they're worried they will negatively impact the seafood industry. 4 Louisiana district attorneys are the subject of an ethics complaint over excessive use of pretrial diversion programs for traffic tickets. That's according to a report from the Advocate newspaper. Diversion programs allow drivers to get tickets dismissed or downgraded in exchange for making a payment to the DA's office. When traffic tickets are processed the old-fashioned way, DAs must split revenue with other offices. This is the primary way public defenders receive funding. Under pretrial diversion programs, DAs collect the bulk of ticket revenue. State utility regulators have given the go-ahead to the company that powers Northwest Louisiana to purchase a share of a wind farm in Oklahoma. The approval comes with a rate increase to support the buy. The project will go online in 2020. If the purchase proceeds, wind power will electrify a third of SWEPCO customer households. A new streamlined riverboat will be cruising the Mississippi River later this year. The American Song is set to take its inaugural cruise from New Orleans in October. The new ship is the first of a series by American Cruise Lines. They've operated paddle wheel boats from the Crescent City and Baton Rouge for several years. A huge award for LIGO in Livingston Parish this week. The lab where gravitational waves were first detected is now designated a historic site by the American Physical Society. LIGO made the critical physics discovery in 2015. The discovery contributed to 3 scientists winning the Nobel Physics Prize back in 2017. The big story of the week, the fallout from President Trump's zero-tolerance immigration policy that has led to the separation of more than 2,300 children and babies from their migrant families along the U.S.-Mexico border. This humanitarian crisis brought outrage and then led to a sudden reversal from Trump. He signed an executive order to stop the family separation while keeping the borders locked down. I spoke with Advocate D.C. correspondent Bryn Stoll about what could happen next.
You would keep families together in detention. And this is what the Obama administration did in 2014, 2015, when there was a huge crisis of Central American unaccompanied minors and mothers with children coming across the border. It led to a lot of litigation and lawsuits, some outcry from immigrant rights groups, and it ended up in a federal order that said you have to release families after about 3 weeks. When I talked to John Kennedy, the senator, yesterday, he said that what he would do if he were president was he would flaunt that court order and basically challenge groups to sue him in order to keep families together in immigrant detention.
Brent, thank you for that. Ending the practice of separating families, still facing big legal and practical obstacles. A federal judge could refuse to give the Trump administration the authority to hold families in custody for more than 20 days. That's the current limit because of a 1997 court order. With me is Lauren Aronson, professor of the LSU Law Center and director of the Immigration Law Clinic. Much has been said about what can or cannot be done. Where do we stand on that?
Yes. So the Flores Settlement Agreement, which until now has basically been nothing that any normal person would have heard of.
People hadn't heard about it until this week. That's this 1997.
Yeah, exactly.
Ruling.
So the Flores Settlement Agreement, which is the decree on which the Trump administration based its policy of separating families, actually does not call for the separation of families. All it says is that children who are detained in the family context must be released after 20 days. This policy or this decree existed obviously since 1997 during the Obama administration, when the policy of Department of Homeland Security at that time was at that 20-day mark, they would release the parents and the children together so that family separation could be avoided.
Now, we've talked about not going forward, that the families would not be separated, and the problems still that remain with that. But what about the 2,300 children that have been separated? How do they get reunited? They've talked about reunification, but there's no specific plan of how to do that, or even maybe the obstacles of just being able to do that, the practicality of it. Well, if the parent's already been sent back, the child is here somewhere. How do you reunite that?
It's unclear. The executive order doesn't address this, and actually the Secretary of HHS or DHS or whoever it was made a comment that, oh, we're going to expeditiously do that, and then later he said he misspoke and that he shouldn't have said that. So it truly is unclear, because like you said, if your parent has been deported to El Salvador and you're a child who's being detained in Chicago, how are you going to be reunited? That's not part of how the system or the framework for these unaccompanied children has been established.
You have been to these shelters where children are being detained, have been detained. You've seen them firsthand. You've been there. Tell us about them.
Yes, so I used to work in some of the shelters in Chicago. There are 7 shelters in the Chicago area, and they vary significantly, but for the most part, these shelters are similar to jails. They are surrounded by gates. You can't enter and exit at your leisure. The children are forced to wear uniforms that are uniform.
It's like a kid prison.
Exactly. That's pretty much what it is.
And to put a child in that situation, again, going forward, the legal issues that could come from that, what are some of those that could develop?
Well, this has been the basis of the litigation, several cases that have come about since the zero tolerance policy. But the truth of the matter is, children should never be in prison, whether they're alone or whether they're with their parents. And actually, I may have misspoken a bit earlier. Obama initially did have families detained together, but then a court order in 2014 required that the Flores Agreement be followed, and then the families were released rather than separated. So I just wanted to correct myself.
All right,
on
this
that.
is a story, it's not going anywhere. It continues to develop. What are maybe some of the issues that you see going forward that could become big legal problems?
Yes, so I mean, I think there's going to...
Other than the ones we've already mentioned.
Right, and I think there will be further litigation on the family detention issue. as well as the asylum seekers being detained. So it's actually not the law that asylum seekers should be in detention, should be held in detention. Basically, our obligation under the Due Process Clause of our Constitution, as well as our obligation under international treaties of which we are a party, require that asylum seekers only be detained so long as it's required to verify their identity and to establish that they're not a flight risk.
It largely feels like new territory for a lot of people. The lay person just watching this, it's not going anywhere. The story will continue, so we'll likely talk to you again. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Maybe the third time is the charm for state lawmakers. They are now in their third special session this year, trying to meet the gap between the state's expenses and the revenue expiring July 1st. Now, LPB's Kelly Spires is here. The governor spoke on Monday. So what did he say?
Well, Andre, he urged lawmakers to reach a compromise. Governor John Bel Edwards kicked off session with an abbreviated version of his usual address.
Everyone in this chamber knows the real reason we're back here today for our 7th special session is not over disagreements of policy. It's more about politics. And that's simply inexcusable. The people of Louisiana deserve better than that. And this will be our last opportunity to give them security, the security that they need and the peace of mind that they deserve so that they can get back to living without fear of the services they depend upon being eliminated or carved up on the chopping block. Over the past several months, partisan politics have infested this building in a way that, quite frankly, we've not seen before. And it's not a welcome occurrence. Trying to craft a solution to the difficult budget situation is hard enough on its own, but the constant mix of partisan angling just makes it that much harder for all of us.
The governor's opening address to this special session. How did lawmakers take that message?
Well, Andre, they listened, I guess, because they reached a compromise.
A compromise. Amazing, huh?
Right. So we were all here because there's a cent of the sales tax expiring on July 1st. The Democrats, wanted to renew half of a cent. The Republicans wanted to renew 4/10 of a cent. And on Friday morning, they came in and they decided to renew 4.5 tenths, or 4.5 of a cent.
0.45.
0.45. Thank you.
Right, exactly. We watched it. They had 74 votes. They needed 70. So it moves along, but this is not signaling time for them to go home now.
It is not, no. The package still has to go through the Senate. So that means a Senate committee will meet to review this, and then it will go, if it passes the Senate committee, to the full Senate floor. At any point, the bill can change again, which would mean it would have to go back to the House for further approval.
So some hurdles to pass, but the fact that they reached this is a positive sign.
Absolutely. It's what's held them up session after session. And it's important to note, I think, that the amount of money that they're talking about, that half of a 1/10 of a percent.
Yeah, I spent $100. How much is that?
It's 5 cents, Andre.
5 cents, okay.
Yeah.
So they called them politicians for a reason.
It adds up to about $40 million for state coffers. We're still about 40 million short.
We're still a little short. All right, Kelly, thanks so much for that.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. The legislature has to wrap up by June 27th. So next week, we will be here to break down how negotiations ended, unfolded. No matter which way it does go, we will be over with the session, so the end is in sight. In 1960, insulin, the drug used to manage diabetes, cost 20 cents per unit. By the year 2015, the price had soared to $26 a unit. That is 3 times the rate of increase of the Consumer Price Index. Kelly, you're back here with this story. Why is that? Why the super rising cost?
Well, to answer that question, I sat down with Michael Berto, the healthcare economist with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana, because there are a lot of folks in Louisiana living with the disease. That cost takes an economic toll. So, Mike, you are the healthcare economist at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana, but
Yes.
you have your own personal story being pre-diabetic?
About 10 years ago, my doctor, my primary care doc, told me that every year when I was coming back to see him, when they would do like a fasting glucose check, my blood sugar was creeping up every year. So it was 5 years in a row. It had gone up 5 times in a row. And so at that time they had identified that condition as pre-diabetic. And he told me, he said, you're on this fast track to diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And if we don't intervene now, it'll just get worse and worse and worse. So it was diet, it was exercise, it was certain medications to take, and checking it more often, letting it come in back and talk to him on a more regular basis. And it's been 10 years, and I've been pretty steady ever since. My blood sugar is very level now.
And a lot of folks in Louisiana have a similar story. Can you tell me about the scope of diabetes in Louisiana?
There are over 500,000 people in Louisiana who are insulin-dependent, full-blown diabetics, who have already progressed to that condition. But there are at least 1.2 million more who are in that pre-diabetic stage where they're getting, annually their blood sugar is going up and up and up. And if you don't intervene, that trend doesn't stop. Your lifestyle will drive it right over the top and you'll become a type 2 diabetic.
And what is the economic impact in the state of having so many people who are borderline on this disease or have this disease?
Diabetes in Louisiana is a $5 billion annual expense. Over $4 billion of that is direct medical costs, and about $1.5 billion more is lost due to lost productivity and wages.
Not just that there are more people that are finding out that they're diabetic, but also that the cost of insulin has grown.
The history of treating diabetes really revolves around insulin. And insulin was discovered in animals in the early 1900s, late 1800s, and actually used in an injection in a human in 1922. 3 Canadian researchers figured out how to create it and create the dosage. And in that era, diabetes from birth meant that you had a very short life in general. And they injected a young boy and he got better, his blood sugar stabilized. They sold their invention, the patent on insulin, to a university in Canada for $1 because it was their wish that the whole world would have access to insulin. Today, that's not really the case. In the last 10 years, the price of insulin has gone up about 350%. So now when we talk about a diabetic's insulin supply for a month, we could be talking about $1,200 or $1,500 a month worth of insulin.
350%?
Yeah, in the last 10 years.
Why?
Well, the insulin we use now doesn't have that much in common with the insulin that we talked about in the 20s. We derived insulin from animals for a long time, about 50 years, and that could cause problems with allergies. Some people were allergic to certain animal byproducts. So they synthesized insulin in a lab in the 1970s. The insulin they sell now, it lasts a lot longer than the insulin did originally that we used years ago. It stores in the body more efficiently and is released over time, so you don't have to use as much of it or use it as often. It's sold in wonderful dispenser pens that make it much tougher to make a mistake when you give yourself a shot. And I've also noticed that the needles that they use to inject it now have gotten very small. So there's a lot less pain or marking on the skin. It really has come a long way, but there's been a cost associated with that.
Managing your health is part of managing that cost.
Yes, exactly. Of course, you would always like to avoid being on the diabetes train at all. Now, a certain percentage of diabetics are what we call type 1 diabetics, and they are born without the ability to create insulin. It's sort of an autoimmune disease. So it's not like they did it to themselves, right? They're just born that way. But type 2 diabetics typically progress over time. We really don't understand the mechanism. We just know that people who become type 2 diabetics have a lot in common. They tend to be overweight, not exercise very much. A lot of them are cigarette users, smokers, tobacco users, and they also tend to eat a diet very rich in high calorie, high fat, high carb foods.
What would you say is the number one most critical thing for someone who, I guess, finds out that they are pre-diabetic?
The really critical thing is to have a strong, ongoing relationship with a primary care physician. You need a PCP to direct your care. In Blue Cross's case, we've created networks of doctors called the Quality Blue Primary Care Docs, who are specifically targeted at controlling chronic conditions like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. And there are about 800 of them statewide right now that are part of that program. But a good primary care relationship is critical. Your doctor needs to be able to manage your medications on a regular basis. Going to the doc once a year no longer will cut it once you've been diagnosed as a diabetic.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Sure, happy to be here, thanks.
It's, of course, not just about the economic cost of diabetes, but also about the human cost. Quite a few Louisiana residents carry a Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance card. You could be eligible for preventative help through your insurance.
Kelly, thanks so much. We appreciate it, and stick around because it's been a really busy week for you. By the way, you can find more health information from Michael Berto and the Blue Cross team at straighttalkla.com. All right, it's a return to how our grandparents grew vegetables without modern chemicals fostering nutrients found in the soil. So I said Kelly had a busy week. Also visited the largest organic farm in the state that you went to.
I did. Andre, typically when we talk about agriculture on this program, we're looking at fields with thousands of acres of a single crop. But Lee Weeks manages production of over 60 crops throughout the year. Let's see how he does it.
We grow beautiful produce. My name is Lee Weeks. We're at Englewood Plantation in Alexandria, Louisiana. I'm the operations manager of the entire farm. Backyard tomatoes, whether you grow them in your backyard or if they're in Englewood's backyard, are better than what you get in the store simply from a timing standpoint. So anything that goes through the normal channels of distribution has to be harvested before it's completely ripe. And whether or not they go through processes of colorization, preservation, all the different things that they could put on chemicals to help preserve that fruit or produce until it gets to the grocery store, is something that we feel takes away from the product. It's an input-driven agricultural world, and we feel like the best way to grow crops is for the soil to provide those nutrients. And in order to do that, it's a long-term process. 50, 100 years, maybe longer, of good farming practices to get back to the Garden of Eden soil that we're striving for. We're always looking, how can we do less tillage? How can we have less inputs? And what can we do to the soil? What cover crops can we grow on our soil? A cover crop is a mix of different seeds, always based on what the next production crop is going to be. So behind us here we have corn growing. Corn is a high use of nitrogen, and so your cover crop would consist of seeds that when they're growing would fixate nitrogen into the soil. In the Deep South, it's probably as challenging as anywhere to grow organically. The drier the climate, I won't say it's easy, but it's less challenging in a drier climate. In a humid climate, you have more bug pressure, fungus pressure, a lot of weeds. And so we're constantly making decisions on crops based on what the cost of certain inputs could be versus in our vegetable operation of just saying, okay, the weeds have taken over this crop, it's just time to let it go. Organic produce is more expensive because many times based on the loss that we even calculate before we get started. So when I'm doing a business plan for a crop, what's called a crop enterprise budget, I always factor in that we're going to lose 25% of that crop. And we may lose a succession to bugs or to a fungus. Our goal in the greenhouse is to get out a very strong plant that is ready for the elements. Sometimes we don't do a good job with that, so we could lose that crop. We have farmers markets that we attend each week here locally and in Lafayette and in Lake Charles. And then we also offer subscriptions. So you can buy a subscription for a season on the farm. Right now we're toward the end of our spring subscription, which lasts for 12 weeks. Each week of those 12 weeks you would get a box of our very best produce. We've had 25 or 30 interns, and we bring those guys in and we interview them. We try to figure out what they want here, and then we have a pretty intentional program of teaching them what we do. Part of our mission is to be very transparent with other farmers. And so if there are farms are farmers that are interested in looking at farming organically. We share the numbers that we have, good or bad. All of our greens and tomatoes and things like that are sold within a day or two of harvesting. So you're getting fresh produce. So if you get a vine ripened product, then it's going to have the maximum amount of nutrients it can have in it because it's grown through its full life versus harvesting it early and putting it on a truck and shipping it. When you're eating locally, you're eating healthier. When you're eating seasonally, you're eating healthier. And when you're eating locally and seasonally, you're helping economically because you're providing jobs for local farms.
Now, Inglewood may be growing vegetables the old way, but they're selling them with modern technology. If you live in Alexandria, you can find Inglewood produce on your smartphone with the Waiter app and get it delivered to your door.
All right, sounds cool. Kelly, thanks so much for that. Louisiana is the only state in the country that allows property owners to prohibit boater access to navigable waters that flow over or through their land. The policy causes challenges for recreational and charter fishermen. Earlier this year, the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society announced it will stop holding tournaments in coastal Louisiana because of this waterways issue. In April, the legislature attempted to pass something to guarantee public access to tidal waterways, but it failed. Louisiana Public Square explores this and other challenges state sportsmen face on this month's episode.
Prominent good fishing areas that have been free and accessible to the public for years in the past are now becoming more and more less accessible.
If it's a private waterway and you want to fish it, there are a number of ways you can do it. You can lease it, you can get a permit. Some landowners actually allow access, they just have to be contacted.
Louisiana Sportsman's Paradise or Problem airs Wednesday, June 27th at 7 p.m. on LPB and in New Orleans on WLAE. You can visit lpb.org/public square and get more information. And everyone, that's our show for this week. Remember, you can watch LPB on demand on your phone or tablet with our LPB Anywhere app. The download is free from your app store. You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows and other Louisiana programs that you've come to enjoy over the years. And please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For everyone at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Morrow. Thanks for watching. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.